Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, our Prime Minister has got a message for all the mums and the dads of Australia. And here is his message to you all.
Doing more than setting a new minimum age of 16 for social media, we are setting a new community standard, making it clear that social media companies have a social responsibility, and sending a message to all those mums and dads who are worried about the impact that social media is having on their children's well-being, their mental health, their confidence and their sense of self. That message is simple. We are on your side. We've got your back.
Yes, we're on your side, ladies and gentlemen. We've got your back. Yes, don't worry. You're not going to worry about. Oh boy, the spineless Albanese and his government are worrying so much about banning the likes of 16-year-old kids on social media than actually dealing with the horrific economy that we've got. And we're also under a recession with the housing market currently. But you know what? My legacy, according to Albanese, is going to be about banning social media for the likes of 16-year-olds, as well as trying to get dangerous misinformation, disinformation laws passed, which, by the way, fantastic news. This misinformation, disinformation bill was demolished in the Senate. And I'm thankful to God that it was. It was a horrific endangerment to freedom of speech. But you know what Albo has done in the meantime? You've got the misinformation, disinformation bill, but you've also got the banning kids under the age of 16 on social media. But the other legislation, it's quite interesting. We'll dive into a little bit about it in just a moment and how it also pertains to transgender laws in Australia, because he wants to change the framework and the entire landscape to suit his own narrative. That's what I'm talking about today, ladies and gentlemen. So Michael Schellenberger, if you don't know who he is, he's a journalist who I think is absolutely fantastic. And he was also responsible for helping fight for Australia's freedom of speech. The Australian Senate may give its e-safety commissioner the power to create digital IDs at the World Economic Forum. She said her global censorship effort will give us is the ability to compel basic device information and account information. So here is what Matt Canavan is talking about regarding the digital ID. And the reason why I brought up Michael Schellenberger before is that he helped fight for Australians to keep freedom of speech going and to help demolish the misinformation, disinformation bill, if you guys weren't already aware of that. American actually getting involved in Australian politics. Yes, it is by time that Americans look at Australia and go, what the hell, Australia? Trump. I would be grateful if Trump goes, Albanese, pull your head in, mate. Seriously, there's something wrong with you. No trying to cancel freedom of speech. All the politicians are just as bad as each other. But anyway, so this is what Matt Canavan brought up in Parliament not that long ago in response to this bill trying to ban 16-year-olds. But it's not just for 16-year-olds. You've got to verify everyone's age, which means you need a digital ID. Dangerous. Here it is.
Well, can you point me to the bit in the legislation which restricts the e-safety commissioner from designating digital ID as a means of age verification?
I can't see how the e-safety commissioner would do that.
We've got to pass the law, and once it goes through the Senate, that's it. I don't get to touch it again. Is there anything in the law that says that says the e-safety commissioner?
There's nothing in this law that says that.
Okay, thank you.
So simple. Nothing in the law says that the e-safety commissioner shouldn't do anything with digital IDs, which means that she can do a lot with digital IDs. There's no restriction for her, which is a massive problem. If you're not putting restrictions on the likes of the e-safety commissioner, that's another thing that the misinformation, disinformation bill did, was it set up like the Ministry of Truth. It gives them far too much power to play with. And when you've got a governing body that has been set up by the government Or you've got a e-safety commissioner, for example, that is in charge of a lot of things, especially when it comes down to social media and pressuring social media companies with the likes of, censorship and everything else. Especially, we'll get to the transgender stuff in just a moment. I promise you, I've not forgotten about that. But the issue with having the e-safety commissioner with no holds bar bounds whatsoever, you've got no safety, none whatsoever. That is a huge problem. But of course, the politicians don't think about that. They don't care about that. And Anthony Albanese, I saw this meme. Kids on social media, oh no. But kids on puberty blockers, hell yes. Told you I would get to this. See, this is what I mean. The government's going, parents, I've got your back. The government has got your back. You know what parents are saying? Back the hell off, government. We don't want you to have our back. We don't want you interfering in the lives of our kids. We just want you to do what we asked you to do in the first place. And that is fix the economy. Actually focus on pushing the recession away. Like, get rid of the recession. Is that so hard to do? But no, we've got to create laws and powers and things like that. We've got to make things more powerful for us. If we don't do that, we can't fix the economy. That's like the politicians in a nutshell. They're arguing and bickering back and forth about censorship. We've got to control the Australian people. How can we do that by not being called authoritarian? I know we can make it sound like we've got parents' backs, or just by banning kids as well. Hello? But yet they don't want to actually stop companies from prescribing, or even psychologists, or even these other dingbats that are all for the transgender narrative. They don't want to stop actual harm coming to kids. How does that work exactly? I don't know. Senator Pauline Hanson actually did a brilliant 15-minute speech. If you want to go and see the whole thing, go onto Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, and follow Pauline Hanson, Senator Pauline Hanson, if you're American. She is doing very well at the moment, virally speaking, because of this video, because it's like a double standard the government has set up. Countless mum and dads oppose the legislation for the ban on social media under the age of 16. They've even signed petitions. 15,000 submissions were made, and the majority of those were published are opposing to the legislation. This is on a community note, right? Albanese is going, we've got the message, mum and dads, we're on your side, we're here to fix everything, we've got your back. But parents, you're not listening to them. Because if you were listening to their concerns, you'd back the hell off and you'd actually ban puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and everything else that you're doing. All the butchery and the madness. We know that it's not good and we know that it's not safe, but yet you continue to do it. But have a watch of Senator Pauline Hanson share her remarks. I thought it was brilliant. I watched the entire 15 minutes of her speech, and I encourage you all to do so. But here is only just a 3-minute, 23-second clip for you all.
Again, a very important issue that's facing many Australians, and I ask why. Here we go again. Here we go again. This is not my first attempt to bring this issue into the light, and it won't be my last. In fact, it's the 5th attempt for common sense. Let me go back at least a year and a half ago, have to be at least that, where we had parents and mothers come to this parliament, walked the hall, spoke to everyone and said, we want an inquiry into puberty blockers and in gender dysphoria and about the hormone treatment. They said they got a great response. But guess what? The 5th time now before this parliament, because I haven't been able to get common sense out of the senators in this place to realise how important it is to have this inquiry. And it's led by the Albanese Greens government. The Albanese government has become even more isolated isolated in its denial of the harms caused by puberty blockers administered to children presenting with gender identity issues. Labor has become more isolated in their denial of the lack of clinical evidence supporting the safe use of these treatments. They have been isolated by our closest friends, the United Kingdom, the United States and just last week, New Zealand. Other countries have seen the light on puberty blockers through studies conducted and the lack of evidence supporting their use. Belgium, Canada, the Netherlands, Switzerland, Finland, Italy and even Turkey. These countries have woken up. Here in Australia, the government is still asleep at the wheel. Here in Australia, the government has repeatedly denied an inquiry into the rapid increase in children attending gender clinics and how they are being treated. They claim their denial of an inquiry is to protect trans people and children with gender issues from harm. Can you believe that? From harm. But it's their denial of the truth which is causing more harm. The truth was laid bare by the Cass Review in the United Kingdom, the final report of which was published in April. This review was commissioned by the UK's National Health Service in 2020 in response to issues at the Tavistock Gender Clinic in London, especially a rapid, massive increase in the number of children being treated there. In 2011, 250 children sought treatment at the clinic. In 2021, 10 years later, the figure has risen to more than 5,000. The review's findings included there is no simple explanation for the increase in the numbers of predominantly young people and young adults who have a trans or gender diverse identity, but there is broad agreement that it is a result of a complex interplay between biological, psychological and social factors.
Fifth attempt for common sense. 5 times Senator Pauline Hanson has brought this up in Parliament, in the Senate. They're not listening. They don't care. Why would they care? Because they're making money. They're not focused on real issues that are affecting everyday Australians. They're not focused on listening to the everyday working Australian because they're more concerned about controlling the middle working Australian. They're more concerned about controlling the lower class and the middle class. The lower class, the very low class, they're running amok. You've got the middle class that are trying to work hard. You've got some people in the lower classes doing their very best, and a lot of them aren't. And then you have the higher class, they're just like, oh, we don't give a shit. Do whatever the hell we want to do. Thank you very much. And then you got the politicians that are part of the upper class. They're in this echo chamber. They're only listening to their fellow elites. They're not listening to anyone that is outside of Canberra, the Canberra bubble, we call it. It's interesting when you've got like an election, how many people actually vote for Labor or the Greens in Canberra, because people that live in Canberra are high and mighty, as it were. They're sucking at the tit of the government. So Canberra's got to create this capital, right, where everything's going well. But everywhere else in Australia, doing it tough, nah, can't do anything about that. We'll just continue to focus on banning young kids from social media, and they'll put up these ads, these ridiculous ads. They're wasting so much money on that, but not actually doing what's right and what's healthy for Australians. We know the Cass Review. We know all of these reviews and evidence that is coming out at the moment to say that transgender health and medicine, it doesn't help kids. We need to have a different approach. But the government, nah. They've got terrible ideas, terrible solutions to problems that are very real and affecting the likes of everyday individuals and those that actually may be struggling with a mental health concern. And like the thing is, when it comes to social media, It's not the government's job to butt in. It's not. Leave them the hell alone. It's the parents' job. You know what the government should do? They should actually support by allowing funding for psychology, for psychologists to actually help parents free of charge that are struggling with stuff that's going on social media. But no, the government's just like, oh, we'll ban social media. Blanket ban. But then we've got a digital ID that comes from it. And we're not going to support healthcare professionals in actually helping kids. Oh, no. We can't do that. Can't possibly do that. We'll just ban it. And while it sounds great in theory, in practice, it's completely different. It's dangerous. It's not what I agree with. But anyway, it's apparently going to pass Parliament today. That's what I heard on the radio. Could pass as easy as today. Anyway, you guys take care, be blessed, and I'll see you all in the next video.